Assalamu alaikum and welcome to the weekly press briefing of the Foreign Office. I wish to begin with the Kashmiri's right to self-determination day observed on 5th of January 2021. The day reminded us that in 1949, the United Nations Commission for India and Pakistan pledged the realization of the Kashmiri's right to self-determination through a free and impartial plebiscite under the auspices of the United Nations. The day also reminded the international community, in particularly the United Nations Security Council, of the imperative of honoring its commitment towards the people of Jammu and Kashmir. The day further reminded of the solemn pledge made by the Indian leadership before the Kashmiris, before Pakistan, before the international community, and before its own people to give the Kashmiris their inalienable right to self-determination. While speaking to the Indian nation over All India Radio in November 1947, Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru said, I quote, "We have declared that the fate of Kashmir is ultimately to be decided by the people. That pledge we have given, and the Maharaja has supported it not only to the people of Kashmir but the world. We will not and cannot back out of it." In a letter addressed to the Prime Minister of Pakistan on 21st November 1947, Pandit Nehru reiterated, and again I quote, "I have repeatedly stated that as soon as peace and order have been established, Kashmir should decide of accession by plebiscite or referendum under the international auspices such as those of the United Nations." In another statement, Nehru reiterated India's commitment to the Kashmir cause, stating, and I quote, "We have always right from the beginning accepted the idea of Kashmiri people deciding their fate by referendum or plebiscite. In fact, this was our proposal long before the United Nations came into the picture." Later, while taking part in a debate on Kashmir in the 765th meeting of the Security Council on 24th of January 1957, the Indian representative, Mr. Krishna Menon, said, and I quote, "There is nothing that has been said on behalf of the Government of India which in the slightest degree indicates that the Government of India or the Union of India will dishonor any international obligations it has undertaken." Regrettably, India blatantly backed out of its commitments, flagrantly dishonored its international obligations, and deliberately violated international law during the last 7 decades. In their messages on the Kashmiri's right to self-determination day, the President, the Prime Minister, and the Foreign Minister of Pakistan highlighted the grave human rights violations in Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir and urged the international community to ensure that perpetrators of these heinous crimes against humanity are held accountable. They reaffirmed Pakistan's steadfast support for the Kashmiri people till the realization of their inalienable right to self-determination. Pakistan has approached the United Nations Secretary General, the UN High Commissioner for Human Rights, and the European Union to seek immediate release of Kashmiri human rights activist and political leader Ms. Asia Andrabi, who remains incarcerated in infamous Indian Tihar jail. It has been highlighted that Ms. Andrabi's life is in danger owing to imminent risk of persecutory conviction by a sham court on 18th of January 2021. The Indian authorities have put Ms. Andrabi on trial on trumped-up charges, deliberately accelerated the trial, and set aside due process of law, reflecting malicious intent with clear indications of looming judicial murder of Ms. Andrabi. India's blatant attempts to portray the legitimate Kashmiri struggle as terrorism and to persecute its leaders through concocted cases is a clear violation of the UN Charter, UN Security Council and UN General Assembly resolutions, and international human rights and humanitarian law. Voices from around the world continue to condemn inhuman oppression of the Kashmiri people and illegal and inhuman incarceration of the Kashmiri leadership, particularly Ms. Asia Andrabi. Pakistan welcomes the statement by the Independent Permanent Human Rights Commission of the Organization of Islamic Cooperation. The statement strongly condemns the illegal and inhuman incarceration of Ms. Andrabi and her two female associates in Tihar jail on concocted and baseless charges. The Commission has urged the United Nations, the OIC member states, and the international human rights community to put pressure on the Indian government to immediately release Ms. Andrabi and her associates and all other political prisoners, repeal its discriminatory laws which are incompatible with human rights standards, and immediately halt its gross and systematic human rights violations, provide access to UN and OIC fact-finding missions, and cooperate in the establishment of a commission of inquiry under the UN auspices, and implement relevant UN Security Council and OIC resolutions allowing Kashmiris to exercise their legitimate right to self-determination. The Malaysian Consultative Council of Islamic Organization, called MEPIM, has also strongly condemned worsening human rights violations, extrajudicial killings, illegal demographic change, inhuman incarceration of Kashmiri leaders, particularly Ms. Andrabi and her associates. Pakistan categorically rejects completely unwarranted assertions by the Indian Ministry of External Affairs in connection with the Hindu temple incident in Karak. This is not the first time the Indian government has tried to feign concern for minority rights elsewhere while being the most egregious and persistent violator of minority rights itself. From the Discriminatory Citizenship Amendment Act to the National Register of Citizens, from the Gujarat massacre of 2002 to the Delhi pogrom of 2020, from the demographic reprehensible demolition of Babri Mosque in 1992 to the despicable acquittal of the accused by the Indian court in 2020, from blaming Muslims for spreading coronavirus to the banning of interfaith marriages, from cow vigilantism and mob lynchings to terming the Muslims of West Bengal termites and threatening to throw them into the Bay of Bengal, from extrajudicial killings of innocent Kashmiris to the blatant attempts to turn Muslims into a minority in Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir through distribution of fake domicile certificates. The RSS BJP regime's record is replete with instances of gross and systematic violations of rights of the minorities, in particular Muslims. As a perennial purveyor of state-sponsored discrimination against its minorities, India is in no position to pontificate on the issue of minority rights elsewhere. The clear difference between India and Pakistan in respect of minority rights can be gauged from the fact that the accused in the Karak incident were immediately arrested. Orders were issued for repair of the temple. The highest level of judiciary took immediate notice, and senior political leadership condemned the incident. Whereas in India, blatant acts of discrimination against Muslims and other minorities continue to take place with state complicity. Now, coming to the situation in Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir, in complete disregard of its international legal and moral obligations, India has continuously subjected the people of IIOJK to a brutal military siege, inhuman restrictions, and state terrorism for an unprecedented 521 days since India's illegal and inhuman actions of 5th August 2019. Pakistan strongly condemns the latest extrajudicial killings by the Indian occupation forces of 3 Kashmiri youth in Srinagar on 29th of December 2020. It is doubly inhuman that the bodies of the martyrs were not handed over to their families for a proper burial despite repeated appeals by the families. This is a new form of oppression that the Indian occupation forces are now resorting to in order to break the will of the Kashmiri people. They have not and will not succeed in this attempt. Pakistan welcomes the commencement of the second round of intra-Afghan negotiations in Doha. The two teams have made significant progress by finalizing the rules and procedures last month and have now reconvened to negotiate on substantive issues. We call upon both sides to remain constructively engaged and show flexibility in the negotiations for reaching an inclusive, broad-based, and comprehensive political settlement which would lead to lasting peace and stability in Afghanistan. We are hopeful that the two sides will prioritize working out a roadmap for reduction in violence and ceasefire in the negotiations. Pakistan reiterates its abiding commitment to a peaceful, stable, united, sovereign, democratic, and prosperous Afghanistan. Pakistan welcomes the decision by the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and the state of Qatar to reopen the land, air, and sea borders between the two countries. We also appreciate other steps being taken by the countries of the Gulf Cooperation Council, which will contribute to resolution of outstanding issues between the countries of the organization persisting for almost 4 years now. Pakistan lauds the positive role played by the Amir of Kuwait towards the resolution of differences between the countries of the GCC. Pakistan continues to accord high importance to its relations with GCC as well as its member states. The President of the National Assembly of the Republic of Djibouti, accompanied by a 12-member parliamentary delegation, visited Pakistan from 28 December to 3rd of January 2021. During the visit, the delegation called on the Prime Minister, the President, the Chairman Senate, the Speaker of the National Assembly, and other dignitaries. In his meeting, Prime Minister Imran Khan underlined the salience of Pakistan's Engage Africa policy, which aims at forging closer ties with the continent by expanding Pakistan's diplomatic footprint and deepening economic engagement with the countries in Africa. As part of his long-term focus on economic diplomacy and Engage Africa initiative, Foreign Minister Makhdoom Shah Mahmood Qureshi chaired a virtual envoys meeting with Pakistan's heads of mission in Africa. Underlining the shift from geopolitics to geoeconomics, the Foreign Minister emphasized the importance of economic diplomacy as a key component of modern diplomatic practice. The Foreign Minister encouraged the envoys to cultivate and broaden mutually beneficial trade and economic partnerships with the African countries. With this, I thank you and I'm happy to take